So I guess. Okay, so basically, a couple months ago, during the summertime, I was talking with one of my sisters about how I always have these thoughts going on in my mind and always just want to express them, just to people around me. But I never, or just to people just in general, but I always have this problem of just not being able to write it down. And or when I try to write it down, I just feel stumped, even if I know exactly what I'm thinking at that moment. And while I was talking with her about this, she came up with the idea of why not just try to, just use a voice recorder and just say my thoughts out to it. And I probably should have started this sooner just to see if I like it. But yeah, this is basically my first of these, and potentially more will happen in the future, but only time will tell on that. But yeah, honestly, I probably should have started this sooner, since I I very consistently will just talk to myself, just have conversations with myself about just basically anything. And I feel like, especially considering that using a voice recorder, I probably should have done this sooner, but yeah. So yeah, I don't really have anything specific I want to talk about this time, since I want to, if I end up doing this more, I I do want to try to dedicate certain talking sessions to just certain topics, since I want to be able to go thoroughly in depth with how I feel about them, or just being able to say all I want to say in regards to that. So yeah. um I guess what did I want to do for this just first one? uh I guess for this, I guess I just would just kind of do a little introduction, since that, or just a little background on me, I guess, since I mean, any any good anything good starts with introduction, I guess. So yeah, I guess might as well try that. So well, my name's Joseph, but I mean, online I go by Shiny mostly, and I guess the story behind why I go by Shiny online is kind of interesting. So yeah, let's start with that, since it's a kind of a little fun story. But okay, so basically, my first internet account was my YouTube channel that I made back in 2016, April 2016, if I remember correctly. And uh, when I made that account, the original name of my YouTube channel was the Ninja Septile, because it was during this time that a lot of the channels I had watched were Pokemon related because, I mean, as I'll probably get into in a later point in time, Pokemon is probably my single favorite franchise ever. And like the channels I would watch had some sort of Pokemon as their mascot, generally speaking, one of, if not their favorite Pokemon. And I wanted to follow suit. So I decided on Sceptile. And the weird thing is, Sceptile has never been my favorite Pokemon. Like, even when I made that channel, Sceptile was only my second favorite Pokemon. My favorite being, at the time, Samurott. So, but I think I chose Sceptile just because, like, maybe I thought it just would be a better representation of me, maybe. I would have. I don't. I mean, that was 6 years ago at this point, so I don't really remember. I was 11 at the time, or yeah, I was 11 at the time, so I don't really remember my specific reasoning for that. But yeah, it was the Ninja Sceptile, and it was that for I think like a year or so, because what ended up happening is I believe it was I want to say late 2017. I had decided to do a new playthrough of Pokemon Black 2, because at that point I had done probably like 3 or 4 playthroughs of Pokemon Black and White 2. I mean, those are my favorite Pokemon games. So yeah, but this run I decided to do a little challenge run. I don't remember, like, it wasn't a Nuzlocke, but it was some weird. I had like all these specific rules that in retrospect didn't really make sense, but anyways, it was a fun playthrough, and in fact, as I'll probably get into later, some of my favorite Pokemon nowadays kind of originated from that playthrough, because that playthrough was kind of special to me. But like, by far, the most important thing to come from that playthrough was when I caught a Pawniard and then evolved it into Bisharp. And this Bisharp ended up becoming the most valued Pokemon on that team, the one that did all the work, the one that ended up being the star. And it was after this playthrough that I realized, because before that, Bisharp was a Pokemon I didn't really think about that much. Like, I saw it and thought it was cool, because I mean, even back then I knew it had an amazing design, but like I didn't really think much else about Bisharp during that time. But after that playthrough and Bisharp being the star of the team, I started to realize more and more how much I actually loved Bisharp, and like how I loved every aspect of it. Like, not just its design, not just its type combo, just everything about it I loved. And I didn't just love, I adored about Bisharp. And I quickly realized that Bisharp was my favorite Pokemon, and to this day, Bisharp is my favorite Pokemon. And I hold it very, very near and dear to my heart. And as a result of me realizing how much I love Bisharp, I kind of thought to myself, well, Sceptile doesn't really... I don't really think Sceptile fit my image anymore, or what I wanted my image to be. So I decided to change it up a little and change it from the Ninja Sceptile to Shiny Bisharp 27. Or, well, on YouTube it was the Shiny Bisharp, but on other accounts it was Shiny Bisharp 27. And, well, the reason for the Shiny Bisharp part is because one of my absolute favorite aspects of Bisharp is its shiny. It's currently my second favorite shiny in general. And I love the colors. I just love everything about Shiny Bisharp. And there was a Shiny Bisharp Pokemon card released in the set's Steam Siege that is still my profile picture on YouTube today. And yeah, I really liked that. So that became the face of my channel, or just the face of everything on my social media, whether it be Twitter, Twitch, Discord, whatever. But yeah, so that was the first big thing. And then so for a while it was just Shiny Bisharp 27. The 27 part is because 27 is my favorite number, and I just thought it fit well. But yeah. But as time went on, like anytime I was in someone's stream or just talking with someone online, more and more people just kind of removed the Bisharp and 27 part and just called me Shiny. And in particular, back in early 2018, there was this GoldenEye streamer that I watched all the time and was kind of my comfort stream. I'm not going to mention who the streamer was, mainly because later on there was some bad stuff that came out about him that I don't want to mention. So I'm not going to name the streamer, but just him and the people who were always in her chat just always refer to me as Shiny. And I noticed that more and more with everyone I watched or just interacted with. And there was something about Shiny that just connected with me so much. And it just felt good to be called Shiny. And eventually I just realized how much I prefer Shiny to Shiny Bisharp, because like with Shiny Bisharp it kind of feels a little limiting in the fact that, well, obviously it's a reference to Pokemon, and like as time has went on, my kind of the persona I have online and just how I represent myself is much less Pokemon than the name would imply. And like Shiny kind of fixed that by still referencing Pokemon and how much it means to me, but also like becoming a much more general thing that can be applied to so much more. So yeah, that's basically the story of how I changed my online name to Shiny, and why it is what it is. So, yeah, that's about it for that. Is there anything else I would want to just talk about right now? I guess I could just talk about some general stuff. Might as well just talk about some general stuff that, like, some of, like, my big interest and how I really came to have those interests, I guess. So I guess I might as well start with, one of the big ones being speedrunning, that I have very much loved for a long time and just consider very important to me. And of course, pretty much all of the stuff I've uploaded to YouTube in the past while has been speedrunning related. So, yeah, I might as well talk a little about how I got into speedrunning. And, like, I'll probably at a later point in time go, like, into why speedrunning means so much to me. And, like, how I came to where I am now with certain games. But basically how I got into speedrunning was... It was... I want to say 2017. Well, for a while before that, I enjoyed, like, games that had in-game timers. I really enjoyed because I could try to play a level or just something and try to get that timer as low as possible. And that was really, like, the origin of my interest in speedrunning. I don't have a specific game that's probably the absolute origin of it, but just games that had in-game timers in general just always interested me to a certain extent. But it was during, I want to say, mid to late 2017. I like started to become more and more interested with speedrunning thanks to learning about things like backwards long jumps in Super Mario 64 and just, like, like the skips in Ocarina of Time involving, like, skipping all the way to Ganon, and, like, that, like, started to interest me more and more. But what really started to get me super interested was Summoning Salt's early speedrun documentaries he did back in 2017 and 2018. That just... I realized... I watched and I was so invested in, and I wanted to learn more, and I wanted to do that. And that started to get me really, really interested. And then, very specifically, Kirby Triple Deluxe's True Arena was the real starting point of my time doing just full-on speedrunning. Because there was a special band event in early 2018, I believe, that I went to for my middle school. And I brought my 3DS with Kirby Triple Deluxe because I knew at one point I would start to get a little bored and want to play a little. And I had looked at my True Arena time and thought to myself, I can probably improve that. And so I spent the rest of the night just playing it over and over again, trying to get a better time. And I eventually did, and that really catapulted me into speedrunning as much as I do now, and becoming such a crucial part of who I am. So yeah, I'll if I do this more in the future, I'll definitely go more into speedrunning as a whole. But for now, that's like just. I probably should mention another thing that really boosted my interest in speedrunning was specifically Summoning Salt's video on 4-2 in Super Mario Bros. That just it was such an engaging video that just made me want to know more, and just like Summoning Salt just has a way to the way Summoning Salt tells stories just will never not be excellent, and really motivating me to learn more about speedrunning. So I'll always thank him for that. So yeah, that's a general gist of it. I guess I'll probably there's probably some more stuff I could talk about, but I think I'll end it off on one of the things that means the absolute most to me, and that like I really feel I have to mention before ending this for now. And that's my love for cartoons and just animation in general, but like in particular cartoons, because if you know me personally, you know how much animation means to me, and how much cartoons have affected my life. So I want to like at least start talking about where this came from. So I mean, okay, so back in the day, like early 2010s, I mean, I was super into cartoons, like most kids. And I mean, in particular, The Amazing World of Gumball and Gravity Falls, I mean, were two of my like biggest nostalgia points, and I loved them with all my heart, and I would always chime in when a new episode came out to watch it, especially with Gravity Falls. And to this day, I remember when Gravity Falls ended in 2016 and just saying goodbye to what was at the time probably my favorite piece of media, just in general. So yeah, but after Gravity Falls ended in 2016, I mean, at that point, I still have been watching cartoons a lot, but I started to stop watching them for one reason or another. And like, especially after Gravity Falls had ended, I stopped watching them more and more, to the point where like maybe every once in a while I would watch an episode of something, but it became more and more infrequent until like in like 2017, 2018, and even some of 2019, I rarely watched cartoons. And I really wish I did more, but I can't change the past. But anyways, I had but yeah, after Gravity Falls ended, it really was that whole time I just kind of drifted away from them, which I think is kind of understandable, since I mean, I was starting to become more of a I was starting to grow a little older and kind of entering that phase where like I like threw away interest because I thought I was too old for them, and like the god awful stigma around animation being for only being for kids, which I've grown to despise more and more as time goes on. But that's out of the scope of this talking session. I have a lot I can say there, but I'll leave it for a later point in time. But anyways, so yeah, I didn't really do much watching of them until in 2019, as I was entering high school. I still wasn't watching them for the most part until one day I was bored and I was kind of flipping through channels and on TV, and I came across an episode of the DuckTales reboot. And I watched it because I was bored, and something clicked with me that I feel was lost in the years prior. And it started out slow, but I would later realize how much that one experience watching DuckTales changed the course of my life, honestly. Because after I watched that one episode, I got hooked. And I ended up going and watching every episode I could, and like following it anytime it released a new episode. I would be there to watch it because I was so engaged, and I wanted to know more. I wanted to watch, and I was so engaged, and I started to realize how much I missed watching cartoons. But even then, I hadn't. It was only DuckTales for a while, because I don't know entirely why, but DuckTales was really the only show I followed, which is so weird, especially nowadays. But that changed during 2020, during spring break, right before, the thing that changed everything happened. There was a marathon of Gravity Falls happening on Disney Channel, and I decided to watch it because Gravity Falls was still probably it was still the thing I probably had the most love for in general. And so I went and watched it, and it was as good as I had remembered. But as it was playing during the ad breaks, I kept seeing ads for this show, this new cartoon called The Owl House. And at first I kind of found these ads annoying, because like I don't remember like the specifics of the ad, but like it was one of those ads that had a lot of repetition in it, and like I don't know, it's hard to explain, but as every time the ad played, I started to become more and more engaged, and like I started to be very interested in what this show was about, and if like I wanted to just check it out. And I am so happy I did, because after starting to watch Owl House, I started to watch more and more shows afterwards, because like it wasn't the case at the time, but Owl House has grown to be my single favorite piece of media in general, and I could spend hours upon hours talking about just why I adore Owl House as much as I do. But after starting to watch Owl House, I mean, because I was now following two shows, I ended up catching other shows that were on Disney Channel, like Amphibia. And then, of course, the pandemic happened, and because I had more time on my hands, I spent more time getting into other shows like Craig of the Creek, Milo Murphy's Law, Glitch Techs. I finally watched through the Avatars, because I still hadn't watched through them. And I started to engage more with animation as a whole, and I've never looked back, and it's been one of my favorite experiences of my life, just being able to go through and watch these shows and get invested in them, and just loving every moment of it. I probably haven't articulated it very well here, but I have so much love for cartoons, animation as a whole, and I have to thank Gravity Falls, the DuckTales reboot, and especially Owl House for really leading me to this point. Because without them, I would be in a very different position today. So, yeah. I think for now, that's all I'm gonna say, because I mean, it's getting kind of late for me, and I should probably start heading to bed soon. So, yeah. But yeah, that's honestly, I think I'm gonna do this more, because I'm kind of having fun doing it, just being able to fully express myself. So yeah. I guess, yeah, that's all I'm gonna talk about for now. I don't know if I'll for sure continue this or not, but I probably will. I don't know what I'll talk about when. I'll probably just kind of do this sporadically whenever I'm bored enough. But yeah, I think that's about it for now. I guess, yeah. This is Shiny or Joseph, whichever one, honestly. And yeah, I guess goodbye.